Alright, hello everybody, welcome to Historian Stitch. Today is a Monday, at which point I usually do a post of the week, or at least every 2 weeks I've been trying to do a post of the week. Rather than write it though, we are going to be doing the video here, and I am working on my shift. Basically, your shift here, smock, shift, chemise, depending on what time period you're doing, depends on what exactly you're calling it, at least in English terms. Basically, this garment is to protect your outer clothing from you, protect you from your outer clothing. It also is acting as your bath, basically, oddly enough. You are going to have many of these, so as you sweat, especially in the summer, you might change your shift at least once during the day. Put a new one on at night. You're going to have a new one the next morning. You're going to have a lot of these, but they are going to take the dirt off of you, all of the sweat, all of the oil. It's going to absorb that. The nice thing about the materials that they were using 160, 300 years ago, most of them, if not all of them, are antibacterial. Do they know that? No. But we know that today they do really well being washed. You want to pre-wash your fabrics, at least all of the ones that will ever be washed in their lives. You want to pre-wash them the way that you would clean them daily. So with a shift, you want to wash it with hot water on high in your washing machine. That way all of the dirt and crud is going to be out of it. You are pre-washing your fabric at that same degree, though. That way it has shrunk down to that point, and then you can go from there. But along with working on the shift, we are kind of going over what materials I am using for this, because I did not do that last time. Basically, the fabric I am using, it is handkerchief weight linen. It was on sale that weird week between Christmas and New Year's, so I got like 4 yards of 60-inch wide for a decent price, which I'm very happy about. It is really nice to work with. I love linen anyway. I realized that working on a coat 3 years ago at Frontier. I cussed the coat itself because somebody else cut it out for me, and I have a problem working on projects that somebody else cuts out for me. But the material itself is glorious. The only one I like more is wool. Wool is my favorite by far. But in this case, we are using linen. I am using linen thread, which is one of the strongest threads you can use. This is a double ply thread. It's a little bulky, it's a little thick, so my hands are not overtly happy about using this, but it's going to be nice and strong, keep my seams nice and strong, which is really important with this garment because of how much use it's going to get. I have finished one sleeve, so you can kind of see this gray chunk here. Those are my stitches. Linen is going to be a fiber that's about yay long, if not closer to 3 feet long. So after it's been spun, it's going to be really strong because there is no... The longer the fiber, the stronger it is, basically. I had to be reminded of that the other day while working on spinning again. But basically, stitch-wise, you can kind of see... Maybe, yeah, where it's a straight line and then there's a gap and then a straight line and a little bit of a gap. Basically, I am doing a half back stitch. At least that's what I call it. Basically, you like just straight stitch 3, backstitch on that third, straight stitch 3, backstitch on that third. It's going to make it a stronger seam. If any part of it happens to come out, it's going to hit doubled spots randomly, so it can't get past that point. So every 1/2 inch on this, I basically tied a knot without actually tying a knot. Along with that strengthening, there is no raw edge here. I already have it hemmed down. So I usually do about a 1/2 inch hem, not hem, a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So before I folded this over, it was a 1/2 inch out. I cut part of that seam in half. So with this sleeve that I haven't done yet, it's just pinned down. It's doubled over, so you have 2 parts of this material here. I'm going to cut this half off, leaving this side really long. That way when I go to hem it, I can fold it over, and it's hiding that raw edge. Now with this particular garment, my goal is to keep the stitches super small with the silk that I am using for the hemming. Silk is your #1 strongest thread. Linen is actually second strongest. So for my hemming, I'm going to use this. I am using this, and my goal is to make it super fine, tiny stitches. Partially for, it's like with the silk, it's small enough that the linen isn't arguing with it, so it's not going to damage the fabric to make them super tiny. Other reason for that is if you look at extant garments from the 18th century, it's really hard to see their hem work. On some pieces you can see it, but that's intentional. On shifts, like the few that are remaining, you can't see it. So my goal is to get this as close to historically accurate as possible. Now my other main thing about this particular video is how I have done the sleeve itself. Other people more than likely do this the same exact way as I am, but with this particular sleeve, this triangular part here, that is your gusset. That is what makes your clothing mobile. Without this piece, you couldn't do this, basically. So I have a 4x4 square piece here that is sewn into that, so it has a nice large shoulder piece, arm piece. What is probably a little bit different on how I do this with any dress, whether it be this one, any of my dresses for 19th century stuff, I do gentlemen's shirts for the 19th century the same way. Let me get the one that is only pinned. Rather than stitching from here to here, leaving these chunks on the ends undone, and then going back and putting the gusset in separate, I have it all pinned down at once. You can't really see my pins because they are glass head pins, but I go through, I put all of it together at once. I will do from here to here on one side, leaving only that smaller chunk on the other undone. Go back after I've gotten that done, stitch this side down, and then go through and hem it. Now for my hemming this time, I did it different than I have in the past. Usually I will do a hem from here all the way down on one side so that there's one long straight bit. And then on the other side, I will have 2 smaller pieces where the cuff comes in and that other side of the gusset. In this case, I'm cutting about a 1/2 inch down from that seam point where the gusset comes in and where the cuff comes in. Cut a 1/2 inch back on both sides and then hem it from there. That way I have basically 5 separate hems rather than 3 small ones, or yeah, 3 hems, 1 really long two really small. I'm doing it this way partially because at the seam points where those points will come in, I have noticed on the other garments that I've done with just those 3 seams, they are weakest at these points where the cuff comes in and where the other side comes in, because they're going to have to move a lot. Where the cuff comes in is about right here. It's going to open and close a lot. For under the arm, that's a lot of strain, especially for what I'm doing of either a working woman's impression or that lower middle class kind of impression. But yeah, that's pretty well what I'm doing. It's pretty well straightforward. The main reason for doing all of this, well, not all of this, the main reason for having your shift, I told y'all I would give you the history of it, a little bit at least. For your shifts, smocks, chemises, they all do the same thing. They are all the same garment, just shaped a little bit different or having a little bit more or less material involved. Thus far, this is the most fabric economic garment I have ever done, because it is one giant square, and then all of the pieces that you cut off to make the square the size that you need, you're using for the sleeves and the gussets and the cuffs and all of the parts that are helping hold it together. So it's definitely the nicest one to do. For your chemise, it's almost the same, but you've got weird U shapes for the shoulders and places like that where there's a little less wiggle room. There's no reasonable place to put those pieces in the end. So in this case, I am thoroughly enjoying this, but basically the whole point of having your shift chemise or smock is it is protecting your clothes from you, protecting you from your clothes in some cases, and it's also cleaning you as you wear it, which in modern mindset is really weird to think about. However, in this case, it's actually pretty smart and makes a little bit of sense once you get into it, because this is the closest layer to your skin. As it rubs against you as you work throughout the day or do whatever it is that needs done, is going to be basically taking off all of the dirt and the sweat and the oil from your skin, protecting your clothes, like your outer clothes, but it's also absorbing all of that nastiness so that when you go and wash it, it all comes out then. You don't have to take baths and showers near as often when you've got these. And you're going to have many of these. In the summer, you might wear 2 a day, depending on how hot and sweaty you get while working in the fields. In the winter months, probably not having to do that much laundry all of a sudden, because you don't have to wash near as many of these. These you are washing every week, so you're going to have at least 7 pairs of them, plus some. Pairs, I say pairs, but 7 of them. All of your outerwear you don't have to wash as often, maybe 2-3 times a month at most, because of this garment. Now, because this is the first layer closest to your skin, and it is going to get washed the harshest, when you're pre-washing your fabric, you have to wash it the same way you will once it's the garment it will be. Let me explain that. Basically, this one I'm not going to bleach it, because linen does not like being bleached, at least not overtly enjoys it. I'd rather this last for a good long time instead. I might try some bluing on it, but probably not. Either way, this is going to get washed with hot water, and probably double rinsed, just to make sure that all the soap is out of it, but that hot water is going to be what cleans it. So when we do laundry demonstrations at work, one of the biggest things that I emphasize is you're boiling your clothes for 30 minutes. Start out with wool, work up to linen, work up to cotton. The wool is going to have the least, it's not going to be boiling water yet, but it's getting there. Linen is that in between because it can take the heat, but it's not overtly happy in it. Cotton doesn't care, so it's going to be in the rolling, boiling water. But you're doing it for 30 minutes. These materials, your cotton, linen, silk, wool, all of those natural materials are naturally antibacterial 9 times out of 10. So it's going to come clean easier, it's going to stay clean easier, and that hot water is going to clean it faster. Basically, when we're doing those laundry demonstrations, the clothes are already clean within 30 minutes. The washing and the washboard come in to get the color out, to get those sweat stains and the grass stains and all out of your clothes. That's why you have the washboard, not to wash your clothes like we think today. But yeah, I think that's pretty well it, at least for the moment. Once I get these sleeves done, then I will start on the body of the shift. I have it relatively long. Your shift usually would come down just below your knees, as you will see if you go and watch the video that I will have tagged in this. It will also have gussets. The gussets are what makes it so that you can move a little bit easier. It's not just a straight tube. It's going to have a little bit of flare from the waist down. That way I can move and do what I need to. But yeah, that will be the next part of this adventure that you all will see. And then after this, then we will get into the lovely, lovely world of stay making. And hopefully it will go a little bit better, but you will be with me on that journey the entire time. So, great fun. But yeah, with that, I will see y'all next time. I'm going to get to work on this. And like, follow, subscribe on here, Facebook, Instagram. Much appreciated. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Bye!